Up right there. Anybody that's ever did a more than like 2, 3, 4 years, I think they can find the appreciation to find that piece of being by yourself. You know, prison don't afford no luxury to be by yourself. And then when you do get a single cell, that's like hitting the jackpot. Even if it's for a couple hours, even if it's for a day, that's like hitting the jackpot because usually you always got somebody in there with you. So any time away from your cellie or anything like that, usually they sticking somebody right up in there, within a matter of hours. That your cellie may leave in the morning and you got somebody right after breakfast.
I just didn't quit. That's the only distinguishing quality from me and probably whoever else going through this or went through this or is gonna go through this, is that I ain't quit. I went through every emotion. I went through every emotion with trying to pursue what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And I think that what's gonna separate whoever's gonna try to go for something is that you ain't gonna quit.
So a quick little story of one time when I actually did have a single cell. I was in a Limon Correctional facility here in Colorado, and I had a job that was like a facility upper job, like to a degree. Like we made a little bit higher because the department that contracted through the prison, paid like a premium price for the stuff that we did, and we did power sewing on like sewing machines. If you can ever think of what a sweatshop looked like, this was like a huge sweatshop. They made like the gravel bags that are on the highway. They did, coats, pants, underwear. They did all these type of things. The labels, everything from start to finish, everything was sewed in house. And your job was to basically learn these sewing machines and then knock out about 50 to 100 of these things an hour. You were supposed to be in there buzzing. At the end of the day, there wasn't no slack. They had guards and everything that came through and monitored everyone. And majority of times, the guards would be like older women or older people that definitely if there was an issue, was definitely not going to be able to do anything to save the day, let alone themselves. So they'd walk through and they'd help and teach you, because I mean majority of them have been doing this stuff for many years. It's just out in a farm town, and this is one of the best jobs offered with benefits and things of that nature. So they teach you how to do that, but you'd be in here making all these things. And one time we were in there, and inside they had these industry size coffee machines, if you can think of them. These things are big. They can easily probably do like 100, 200 cups of coffee, and that's what they give you in there. You got these little paper cups that you fill up with all this Colombian coffee, red hot, and man, you'd be in there sweating, just buzzing away. It'd be super hot in there. And we were in there one day, just a regular day. Usually we'd go in the morning time, and we'd go up till about 11 o'clock, break, go to lunch, and then we'd come back from lunch from about 1 to 3:30, maybe 4, somewhere in there. And it was midday. We had already made it past the first half. We had lunch, we came back. We got this ambulance in the background. We came back from lunch, and we were we were doing what we were doing. We were setting at our thing. I can't remember what I was sewing. I think I was sewing shirts or something like that. And we were sewing and buzzing away, probably like 3 or 4 of us around of us, 3 or 4 people around us, and man, the police came in swarming. They all came running in quick, and it's the military department, it's regular responders, it's regular COs, and they running in there, and we're all looking at each other like, man, what's going on? So they start yelling lockdown, hitting the lights. They flashing the lights, so the whole room's going dark and it's getting light, and they telling us we got to go. So everybody's flooding out. People are coming out of school. Everybody, the facility is going on lockdown. Whatever happened was just major. So as the facility locks down, they're taking us out, and then they start stripping us out. And before we can go back to our units, which is across the the prison yard, we sitting there. We got to strip out. We got to take our shirts off, underwear, bend over, cough, the whole nine, and then go through a metal detector. So we're doing that. The process is real slow. And we see this guy. We see him come out. They're pushing this guy. He looks like Hannibal Lecter, and he's strapped to a gurney, butt naked. He's strapped to the gurney. And they're pushing him. There's a bunch of COs, and they're pushing him right past us, and he's got the little thing and his spit guard on his face to make sure that, he doesn't bite, spit, or do anything like that, and they're pushing him right past us, and he gets pushed out. We see him go through the yard. You know, we're hearing little bits and pieces, and you know, we finally make it back to the unit. You know, this is probably about like an hour or 45 minutes after all the stuff happened. We make it back to the unit, and thank God I had a single cell right here, because when I get back in there, you know, we ended up being locked down for almost 4 months right there. 4 months to the facility, and the facility never came back to being the way that it was before. But we get back to the unit, I turn on my TV, and you know, I go, whenever you're in these state facilities, you know, pretty much you have a couple local channel news that really keep you tied into the city if you're from the city. So, you know, like I turned on the TV and I seen the news, and you know, not even within minutes they had an update, and it came to be that there was a guy up in there, I forget his name, but he was an old school cat, and you know, salt and pepper here, and you know what he had did is he had snatched up one of the instructors who was a guard, and he attempted to rape her, and he cut her throat in the process of doing that. And see,
and developing this afternoon, a Department of Corrections employee is recovering after being attacked by an inmate last night at an eastern Colorado prison. That prison is still on lockdown as of this afternoon. Now, because of the investigation, we're told there will be no visitation this weekend as they work through all the evidence. The officer was taken to the hospital after being attacked with a sharp object.
when we were in power sewing, you have to go in there and give them your ID. When you give them your ID, they give you this little pouch, and this pouch would consist of like a little bit of these little dull scissors, you know, stuff to cut the cloth and the ribbon and all that type of stuff. So you have this pouch, and they give it to you, and you trade it for the ID. And he used one of those, but he was somebody that had already been in there for like 6, 7, 8 years, had a life sentence. You know, if I do recall, he already had like a sexual assault case from like the early 80s or something like that. So he was already a predator. But you know, once again, he, you know, through good merit and good acts of faith, he made himself all the way up there. And you know, whatever that voice in his head was told him to do that, and that's what he did. And praise God, she lived. And she actually came back to work like 7 days later after all this stuff happened, and you know, her throat was cut. But you know, we went into lockdown for 4 months right there, and that's like, you know, they wheeled our food in, they bring it to our door. You know, sometimes, you know, they let the bottom tier out. We'd come out, we'd grab the stuff, it'd be in styrofoam. You know, you get a little thing of milk, and you know, it's back to your cell for the next day. You know, and those days would turn into weeks. Those weeks would turn into months. And you know, this actually happened, you know, during September, and my mother's birthday was on the 21st. So, you know, I was only able to correspond with her, you know, and wish her a happy birthday just through a letter, because, you know, there was no phone action, there was no visits, there was nothing. You know, everything was shut down. So if you had you know, didn't have the privilege of a single cell during that time, basically you were going to just, you know, be in there with the strangers that they put in the cell with you. So, you know, can you imagine that? Can you imagine for months, you know, you just with a random guy and a random person, you know, you have to, you know, find the measure of arm's width right there, measure of respect, and, you know, deal with all that stuff. Smell this person, eat with this person, you know, the whole nine. But yeah, that was 4 months right there. So we did 4 months in there, and then, you know, once again, when you know, they finally started letting us out, you know, pod by pod. We'd be able to come out for like an hour. You know, one tier might come out, be able to shower, you know, things of this nature, you know, step by step. And then finally, you know, when it was what they would call all programs go, you know, where, you know, the facility moved around and functioned, you know, certain units didn't correspond with one another, whereas before the whole facility would go to yard, or, you know, you'd have a lot of stuff passing. You know, they just basically what they did, they just put their foot on the neck of the facility again. You know, everybody that lived in there, that was, you know, housed there, you know, basically they felt the wrath, you know, of this man's bad decisions. We all had to suffer. And you know, at the end of the day, that man's got to live there. And you know, I don't know what tormented that man, and I'm thankful to God that the lady lived, because she was a good lady. You know, she was real humble. She was an instructor. You know, she definitely didn't deserve that. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's like we're living on hell sometimes. You know, you got to go through some processes to get growth. And you know, that was a life-defining moment right there for her, and then once again for all the people that's been housed at that facility. And can you imagine that though? Could you imagine just being in one place in the world, not being able to move, not being able to shower, not being able to come out? You're looking out one little window, seeing nothing but fields and dry grass, and at the end of the day, that's all you got. You got that for months on end, and waiting on the mail to slide under your door. I'll never forget it. The mail makes a certain kind of noise when it slides on that concrete, and you hear that, it's jackpot, because you don't get junk mail in prison. In prison, if you do, it might just be a thing from the library, but that's random. Usually you get a JPay, which is some money, or a letter typed up to you, or you got some love from the streets from somebody that took some time out their day to write a letter to you, which is a thing of the past nowadays. I don't think anybody understands the art of writing a true letter. Yeah, that was a long 4 months right there, and that's probably the longest lockdown I did. As far as like a facility lockdown, stuff would always happen. There'd always be some fights and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you'd be locked down for a couple hours a day or something, and it's back to regular motion again. But if you guys appreciate the video, man, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned in with me for new videos. Like I said, I'm trying to hit a new video every Thursday about 9 p.m. Mountain Time. If you like this video right here, please show some love and hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe and notification button to stay updated for the latest videos. New videos will be dropping Thursday, 9 p.m. Mountain Time, so please stay tuned.